Wow, we've already made it to the end. It's amazing how quickly time flies. I don't know how I did it, but I've managed to get through nearly 20 Mario games in the span of almost a year. But there is still one game left to look at, and it's... Oh dear. Haldo! Welcome back, everybody. And yes, you heard it right. This is the last Mario game we have to cover for the Mario Marathon. Great, thanks. That makes me feel so much better. All right, let's just get this over with. I've been preparing for this moment all year, so let's not waste any time. Ladies and gentlemen, it's finally time to wrap up this Mario Marathon with my review of Super Mario 3D World for the Wii U. When the Wii U launched back in 2012, I just knew that Nintendo was going to give us a great 3D Mario title, but what was it going to be like? Was it going to be a third Galaxy game? An HD Mario 64 remake? A Sunshine sequel? Oh, no, please. Anything but a Sunshine sequel. Then at E3 2013, they showed off a trailer. And admittedly, when I first saw it, I was horrified. A sequel to Super Mario 3D Land? Are you kidding me? This looks lame. Then a few months later, they showed off another trailer. And I was slightly curious to try it out, but I still wasn't too excited. At last, the day came when Super Mario 3D World was finally released, November 22nd, 2013. And to my surprise, the critical reception was insane. Super Mario 3D World got almost nothing but perfect scores, and it's now often considered to be one of the best Mario games in recent years. With a reputation like that, and with me not having very high expectations, what do I think of this game? Okay, let's just start from the beginning. We see our four heroes walking through the Mushroom Kingdom, celebrating whatever it is that needs to be celebrated. Well, Peach hasn't been captured yet, so I guess that's worth a party. Suddenly, they come across a clear pipe in the middle of nowhere. Emerging from it is the princess of the Sprixie Kingdom, who informs the gang that Bowser has invaded her world and captured the other Sprixies. All 6 of them, apparently. And when you know it, Bowser appears and traps the Sprixie princess in a bottle like she's some kind of fairy from The Legend of Zelda. Now it's up to Mario and his friends to enter the Sprixie Kingdom, rescue all 7 Sprixies, defeat Bowser, and save the day. Okay, I know it's early in the review, but we need to bullet point everything wrong with this intro. Number 1, why does Bowser want to take over the Sprixie Kingdom now? Number 2, where did that clear pipe come from? Number 3, how did Bowser find it? Number 4, what are Sprixies? Number 5, what is the Sprixie Kingdom? Number 6, where did the Sprixie Kingdom come from? Number 7, why does the Sprixie Kingdom look so much like the Mushroom Kingdom? Number 8, what's the point of having this game take place in the Sprixie Kingdom when it could have easily taken place in the Mushroom Kingdom? Number 9, whatever happened to Subcon? Number 10, why couldn't this place have just been Subcon instead? That would have given us a good reason as to why it looks like the Mushroom Kingdom. Number 11, is Mario looking up Peach's dress? Alright, I think you get it. So, yeah, this story makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. And it was a totally missed opportunity for us to revisit Subcon. We already have the 4 characters from Super Mario Bros. 2, so it would have made sense. Well, we can at least hope the rest of the game is better, right? First thing to talk about is the world map. It's not as linear as it was in 3D Land. In fact, it's a lot more open-ended. You're given a lot of room to explore, and there are alternate paths that can lead to other levels. I guess I could appreciate this change if the worlds weren't so dull. They all have the same cubic structure and the layouts are nearly identical. The only world that's interesting at all is the final world. It's like Las Vegas with neon lights everywhere and some bold color choices. Just a shame the other worlds aren't as cool. Mystery boxes and toad houses returned from Super Mario 3D Land, but now the map includes mini-boss encounters like in Super Mario Bros. 3, and sometimes slot machines will appear as a means of giving you extra lives a la Super Mario Bros. 2. Other times you can subject yourself to the Captain Toad missions, but I'll talk about them later. The mini-bosses you fight can range from Magic Koopas to Charging Chucks making a return from Super Mario World, or they can just be bigger versions of regular enemies. Excitement. But now let's get to the gameplay. Super Mario 3D World plays almost exactly like Super Mario 3D Land, with a few differences here and there. For one thing, the levels are a lot bigger. You have more space to run around, almost as if the game tries to encourage exploration a bit more. But you're still put under a time limit, so what's the point? Not to mention, sometimes these levels can be a bit too big for their own good. Also, the translucent warp pipes are a bit... what's the word I'm looking for? Gimmicky. In all fairness, there are some pretty cool levels. One of my favorites is this one where you're put in what looks like an Asian temple. Not only does it look different from what we've seen before, but it actually has a pretty good mix of platforming and puzzle solving. There are other levels that balance these out good as well, but a lot of them are required to be played using only the Wii U gamepad, which can get really irritating sometimes. I will say, using the gamepad is surprisingly very comfortable. In fact, the controls in general are okay. It's just about as smooth as 3D Land's controls were, and there are 4 different controller options to choose from, my personal favorite being the Wii U Pro controller. The right analog stick can even move the camera, which really isn't anything special because this camera is an outright joke. It can't even rotate a full 360 degrees. Also, I'm gonna say this now, do not play this game with the Wii Remote alone. 3D games with a D-pad almost never feel good. Unless it's a PS1 game. Anyway, before I get back to the levels, let's quickly discuss the different characters. That's right, you can play as up to 4 characters in this game, and they play almost exactly like they do in Super Mario Bros. 2. Mario's the average character, Luigi has the high jump, Princess Peach can float in the air, and Toad has the fastest running speed. One thing I really like is how you can switch to a different character before starting a new level. I don't have any real issues with the characters themselves, with the exception of Princess Peach. Yeah, she's got her float and everything, but it doesn't last as long as it does in Mario 2. Bit of a shame, but I don't really play as her that often, so there's no real harm done. Levels are filled with collectibles. The star medals from 3D Land are now replaced with the green stars from Galaxy 2, which seems pointless because they behave exactly like the star medals from 3D Land, so why they changed it mystifies me. And you know what? I am getting so tired of these. Whatever happened to just going from point A to point B, only worrying about the enemies that were ahead of you? But no, we gotta collect stuff now too. Even stamps, which add absolutely nothing to the game whatsoever. As per usual, there are power-ups scattered around to let you do different things. The first new one we have to mess around with is the cat suit. Yes, Nintendo, this is a suit, not a transformation. Seriously, who are you trying to fool? Back to the cat suit. Am I the only one who really doesn't think it's that great? You can do this swipe kick thing to break blocks and defend yourself against enemies, and you can climb up walls to get to higher platforms or use this trick to get to the top of the flagpole much easier. But I don't think it offers enough to serve as the main gimmick of the entire game. By the way, how come Mario's catsuit doesn't match his colors when everyone else's do? Shouldn't it be red instead of yellow? In fact, the power-ups in general really aren't that great. Every single power-up from Super Mario 3D Land returns, minus the statue leaf and the poison mushroom, despite how little of a purpose they serve here, specifically the Tanuki suit. For real, there was no reason for the Tanuki suit to come back. The only power-up that I legitimately enjoy using in this game is the double cherry. It creates a duplicate of your character and it does whatever you do. This genuinely makes for some interesting puzzle solving, and I welcome its inclusion. I just wish it was in more than 2 or 3 levels. Super Mario 3D World also has a scoring system, like the 2D games. You earn points for killing enemies and collecting coins and all that, and at the end of each level, your points are added up to a high score that ultimately doesn't mean anything. Also, how come reaching the top of the flagpole doesn't give you an extra life anymore? Only 10,000 points? What do you expect me to do with these? And how can I use them when you're just gonna take them away from me at the end of the level anyway? And stop giving us this stupid flagpole, I'm getting really sick of it. For other levels, you're required to ride on a giant orange dinosaur fish thing named Plessy. Plessy sucks. She controls awkwardly, her voice is annoying, and in general, she just comes off as a pointless level gimmick. This brings me to another issue I have with this game. That being Super Mario 3D World seems to have an unbearable lack of focus. In 3D Land, it was simple. Just go from stage to stage and rescue the princess. But here, they throw so many different level gimmicks at you. Riding on Plessy, activating flip switch panels, running across the dash panels in this Mario Kart themed stage, using the gamepad to move platforms, the Captain Toad levels. It's like Nintendo knew they were just making another average Mario game, so they tried throwing in as many new ideas as they could. But a lot of these ideas only last for very few levels in the entire game. So, as a result, there's no real focus that consistently drives the game as a whole all the way through. Oh yeah, I should probably get to Captain Toad now. You see, the captain of the Toad Brigade from Super Mario Galaxy is going on an adventure of his own, and that's to collect green stars. And That's it. In these missions, you're in control of Captain Toad, and your goal is to simply get all the green stars before time runs out, all while rotating the camera to get a better view of the stage so you can maneuver your way through it as best as you can. Hey, it turns out I can rotate the camera a full 360 degrees. But why only these sections? The Captain Toad missions are probably the worst part of the game. Not only because they require you to play a completely different game altogether, but rotating the camera can be tedious, and the captain moves so slow. Oh, and he can't jump. A character in a Mario game that can't jump. Isn't that kind of like having a character in a Sonic game who can't run very fast? Apparently his backpack is so heavy that it keeps him from jumping. I don't buy this at all. If it was really that heavy, then Captain Toad couldn't be able to go anywhere while wearing it. What does he even keep in that backpack that's so important to him anyway? I didn't bring attention to this, but I might as well now. Super Mario 3D World has multiplayer, where 4 people can play together at the same time. This could be another reason as to why the levels were made so much bigger, but the multiplayer just seems unnecessary. I said in my review of Super Mario Galaxy 2 that 3D Mario games in general really didn't need multiplayer modes of any kind, and 3D World is a perfect example of that. This game could have easily just been a single-player adventure, but because 4-player co-op made New Super Mario Bros. Wii and New Super Mario Bros. U so successful, they just had to bring it back for this game. It doesn't help that the camera functions even worse with up to 4 players. It just doesn't know who to focus on. Also, why does every player need to share the same number of lives? That's just so stupid! At the end of each world is a castle level, where you square off against either Boom Boom and Pom Pom, I already told you not that Pom Pom, or Bowser. At the end of each castle, you rescue one of the 7 Sprixies, and they build you a path to the next world using nothing but a wrench. These boss battles are still just as easy as they were in 3D Land, but Bowser's are definitely a bit cooler. Why he throws bombs at you that can easily be sent back to him and cause him to lose, I have no clue. But that car of his is pretty sweet, even if it makes the Batmobile look like, well, the Batmobile. Also, during the final battle, he uses a Super Bell to turn himself into... Oh boy. Good lord, am I really supposed to take this seriously? It makes the animatronics from Five Nights at Freddy's seem terrifying in comparison. Oh, right. I can't say anything bad about Five Nights at Freddy's on the internet. Oh well. Moving on, like using the star medals in 3D Land, most of these castle levels need to be unlocked using green stars. And if they were going to make any changes from 3D Land, why didn't they get rid of this? Needing star medals to unlock certain levels was already bothersome enough in 3D Land, but here, it's despicable. And again, what if I don't want to collect all the green stars? What if I just want to play the game normally? Now, if green stars were only used to unlock bonus levels that aren't required to beat the game, then I'd have absolutely no problem. But if I reach a castle level that requires a certain amount of green stars for me to unlock it, and I don't happen to have that number of green stars on me at that time, that is where I draw the line. But anyway, after you beat the game, you unlock World Star, World Mushroom, and World Flower. World Star is made up of new levels, and World's Mushroom and Flower are slightly altered versions of already existing normal stages. Does Nintendo just have an obsession for this or something? But hey, at least you can unlock Rosalina as a playable character after beating the second level in World Star. Okay, let me just say a few things. I think it's kinda cool to see her in the spotlight. It's kinda cool that she can do the Galaxy Spin attack. But here's my problem with her being in this game. Remember what Rosalina was like in the Galaxy games? She had an incredible backstory involving both her and the Lumas losing their mothers, and she decides to act as a mother to the Lumas so that neither of them would ever feel lonely again. She was complex, powerful, sophisticated, tragic, everything that makes for a great character. Here, she's giggling, jumping, and spinning around going, yeah, woohoo, with all of her complex backstory and character removed. She's essentially on par with Princess Peach in terms of personality, and by that I mean she no longer has one. If I had known that Rosalina was going to be made into less of an interesting character than what she used to be, I would have begged Nintendo to keep her away from this game. But you know Nintendo, once they introduce a new concept or make a big change, whether good or bad, it never goes away. Say, what's with all these 8-bit Luigis? I feel like everywhere I go, there's always an 8-bit Luigi bouncing about out of nowhere. Well, here's why. Super Mario 3D World was released during an entire year-long celebration for Luigi's 30th anniversary, known as the Year of Luigi, or as Luigi likes to call it,
the year of me.
So if you have a new Super Luigi U save file on your console, you can unlock Luigi Brothers. It's just Mario Brothers, but with 2 Luigis. Nothing different. Ugh. Alright, fine, I'm sorry. I don't mean to get so nitpicky about this game. It's just that there's so many things about it that drive me crazy. The dancing flowers, the cartoony atmosphere, it's like this game was made for the sole purpose of infuriating me. But let's just get to the presentation side of things and then be done. Graphically, the game is good, but this can't be all that the Wii U is capable of. New Super Mario Bros. U looks better than this. At least that game had a better use of color. Normally, when 3D Mario games debut with a new Nintendo console, more often than not, they're expected to showcase what that console is capable of doing in terms of graphics. Super Mario 3D World doesn't really do it for me. It does look good, and some of the backgrounds are very well detailed, but it's nothing mind-blowing. The music, how to put this delicately, it's bad. Speaking as an avid musical enthusiast, 3D World's soundtrack just seems underwhelming, because most, if not all of these songs, are either recycled from 3D Land, rearrangements of songs from other previous Mario games, just plain bad, or they sound like they were constructed from Super Mario Galaxy's table scraps. I mean, was any effort put into most of these songs? My only exceptions are with the Histocrat battle theme and the credits theme. These songs are incredible, the most beautiful, jazziest pieces a Mario game has ever had. Why couldn't the rest of the soundtrack have been this good? It still wouldn't top either of the Galaxy games, but at least I could be able to see an attempt. Lastly, I'm really getting sick of the underground theme. Nintendo, please give us something else. Okay, I think I've let out enough rage. So, overall, what's my verdict on Super Mario 3D World? Well, after playing every other main series Mario game, and despite the critical acclaim 3D World has gotten since its release, this has to be my absolute least favorite in the entire series. For those of you who ignored the disclaimer in my top 10 list of games I don't like that everyone else does, you might have noticed that Super Mario 3D World was number 2 on that list. I know that took a lot of you by surprise, more than Ocarina of Time even. In fact, maybe I should have just put 3D World at number 1 instead. But if you still don't understand why I put it on the list after watching this video, then I have nothing else to tell you. But I will say this, Super Mario 3D World fails to deliver on so many levels that I can't even consider it a proper 3D Mario game. Now, why was I a whole lot nicer to Super Mario 3D Land, even though 3D World borrows a lot from that game? Well, this is probably gonna sound ridiculous, but 3D Land worked better because it was on a handheld. The constrained design just works better for on-the-go gaming. Now when you take that and bring it onto a home console, it comes off as boring, repetitive, and just plain stale, at least in my opinion. I'd honestly rather go back to Super Mario Sunshine, because even though that game had problems of its own, in fact it might have had a lot more problems than I can fathom, it at least kind of knew what I was looking for in a 3D Mario game. Those obstacle courses I love so much, those smaller sections combined are more of a 3D Mario game than Super Mario 3D World ever will be. I understand the appeal. Super Mario 3D World is very bright and colorful, and friends and family can make memories when playing together. As for me, I don't think it's a bad game, but I also don't think it's a good Mario game. The graphics are nothing special, the level design falls flat, the soundtrack is bad, the multiplayer seems unnecessary, the green stars are stupid, and in terms of gameplay, it's just boring. So boring that I just barely avoided putting the controller down after only 15 minutes of playing on several occasions. There was nothing wrong with how the Galaxy games updated the formula. Those games were both so perfect in what they were, and 3D World doesn't even compare to those two. I'm not saying 3D World sucks because it's not a Galaxy game. I'm just saying, in terms of giving me a great experience, the Galaxy games just did a much better job at doing it than 3D World does. Even Mario 64 does a better job. And you know what? I'll even go so far as to say I prefer 3D Land over 3D World. Yep, I just said that. Now all I can do is hope that Nintendo takes everything that worked in 3D World and build upon it while removing everything that didn't, which in my opinion is about 80 to 85% of it. In the end, Super Mario 3D World isn't awful, but I've got a feeling that I won't be revisiting it anytime soon. I know it seems a bit unfitting to end the Mario Marathon with a game that I don't particularly like very much, but even though Mario has his ups and downs, the majority of his adventures are still really fun to play. Mario has managed to do what most other video game franchises fail to do, and that's be consistent with the quality of his games. Very rarely does Mario ever churn out a stinker that isn't made by a third-party company, or Sticker Star, and this is one of the things that's made this marathon so much fun to do. No matter what mood I'm in, I can always count on Mario to give me a great, pleasurable experience. I've been a fan for many years, and I'll be sure to continue my adventures with Mario for many more years to come. Thank you all so much for tuning into this Mario Marathon. I had a blast putting these videos together, and I promise you that there's going to be some more great videos in the future. You know, it's a bit weird knowing that I don't have any other Mario games to cover this year. Not even spin-offs that might be vaguely related to the game I just covered today, but that sure doesn't foreshadow anything. Really? Anyway, with that said, this is Mark, aka Super Smash 3DS, bidding you all a smashing farewell. Yep, no more Mario games. No more Mario games at all. None whatsoever. None at all.